Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. A lot to discuss this week. Commander Masters previews are done, and sure, some cards are dropping because they are being reprinted, but what everybody always seems to forget is that when a Master set comes out, it causes a lot of cards to spike too, and that's definitely the case this week. We're seeing some very aggressive spikes because of those Commander Masters previews. We're going to dig into all of it. Again, our threshold this week will be $2. We're not going to talk about a card unless it's moving up or down at least $2. Quickly before we do get started though, a couple things. I do want to say thank you to two of the viewers, Todd Branch and Whip. They both gave super thanks tips for last weekend's video. Thank you both for your generous tips. You both have given a lot to the channel, and I really appreciate it. It helps so much I can't even begin to tell you. Thank you for that support. And secondly, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order Commander Masters products there, but they now also have Wilds of Eldraine products up for pre-order as well, and they have a whole lot of other things on their website. Remember, if your order's over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the Heroes promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated, so thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin with the Standard Legal Spotlight. This is where we look at the Standard Legal cards moving the most this week. Only one to talk about. It is Ichor-Moon Gauntlet. It goes up $3.44 to $8. So this has been seeing some increased Commander play in a build around a card from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, Goldberry River Daughter. But now, some are interested in getting this to upgrade one of the new Commander Masters Commander decks that will be coming out soon, Planeswalker Party. And just like that, we're at the Pioneer Legal Spotlight, so we got some cards going down in value, a couple going up. Let's see what's happening here. First is Heliod's Sun Crown from Theros Beyond Death. It goes down 214 to 1927. This is in Modern Selesnya Life Gain. It's also in a bunch of Commander builds, including some popular new ones, but it is being reprinted in Commander Masters, so it is cold. Mana Confluence from Journey into Nyx is down 278 to 3159. This sees just a little modern play, but it is a big mana-based card for Pioneer and Commander, although the card has been retracting after some significant jumps that occurred earlier in the year. Smothering Tithe from Ravnica Allegiance, it's down 293 to 2210. This is a huge Commander card found in multiple decks, including some new ones again, but the card has been soft since its reprinting in Double Masters 2022. And now it is also getting a reprinted Commander Masters, so it does move down this week. This, however, did get upgraded to Mythic from Rare in Commander Masters, so we'll have to see how that impacts the price of existing copies once the set is released. Finale of Devastation from War of the Spark is down 311 this week to 3683. This is another big Commander card, but also sees play in Modern. It's even in a build that has been gaining momentum in the new meta that's been influenced by Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. That deck is Asmo Foods. Why is this moving down then? Well, it is being reprinted in Commander Masters. Cyclonic Rift, this time it's the Commander 2014 copy, going down 357 to 3314. Alright, it sees a little modern play in Mono Blue Tron, but you know it as a huge Commander card in tons of decks, old and new. But now it is moving down since we know it's going to be reprinted in Commander Masters. Indomitable Creativity, down 359 this week to 2158. This card jumped a lot earlier in the year as many players wanted it to build Pioneer and Modern Indomitable Creativity decks. Now it continues to retract some. It only sees a tad bit of Commander play, so this card could really ebb and flow in the future based on Pioneer and Modern meta changes. The Great Henge from Throne of Eldraine, down 362 to 4983. This is another big Commander card, but not only did it just get reprinted in the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth Realms and Relics subset, but it is also being reprinted again in Commander Masters. Last card moving down in this section is Ishkana Graf Widow. This is the one from the list. It goes down $4 to $9.96. So this card, and especially this harder to find copy, blew up a few weeks back since many players wanted to put this in their Commander builds around a new card from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. And I'm sure you remember that card was Shelob, Child of Ungoliant. But many times when a card spikes aggressively like this one did, many copies show up quickly in the marketplace. And this week we're seeing the resulting retraction. Next is Emrakul, The Promised End. This is up 26.34 this week to 64.44. Alright, it sees a little modern and legacy play, but traditionally this has received a fair amount of Commander play. Leading up to the Commander Masters preview season, many players stayed away from this card since they thought it could be reprinted in the main set or in the Eldrazi Unbound Commander deck. Well, now we know it isn't in either. So many players are scrambling to get this to upgrade Eldrazi Unbound, or to put this in future fresh builds around the front-facing commander from there, Zulodok Voidgorger. And the last card in this section is another one spiking aggressively, Sliver Hive from Magic 2015. It goes up 2690 to 3968. This is in Legacy Slivers and in a variety of Sliver commander decks, but like the last card, many players have been holding off picking this up since they thought it could be reprinted in Commander Masters or in the Sliver Swarm commander deck. Well, it's not in either, so again, players are scrambling to get this upgrade for Sliver Swarm, or they may want to put it in fresh builds around a couple cards from that deck. Sliver Grave Mother is on the left side there, that is the front-facing commander, but a lot of players are also interested in the card on the right, Rukaru Male Biologist. Welcome to the Modern Legal Spotlight. This is where we're going to look at the Modern Legal cards moving the most this week. A lot more turbulence in this section, of course, because not only is Commander Masters playing a role, but Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth is legal here. Firstly, a Blood Chief Ascension. This is the one from the list. It goes down 204 this week to 1697. Solid commander card in many builds, including Nekusar the Mindrazor, but it is cold now, since this is being reprinted in Commander Masters. Jace the Mind Sculptor, the copy from Double Masters, down 208 to 2801. This card just does not get the same amount of play it used to. Metas have changed, and new cards have come along to take some of its slots in decks. The only recent reprinting is the Pro Tour Secret Lair copy that you can only get if you play in the Pro Tour this year. If you top 16, you get a foil. I don't really think that printing is having a big impact on this price. The card does still see play though in Modern, Legacy, and Commander, but like I said, just not in the numbers that it was seeing a few years ago. Oboro, Palace in the Clouds from Saviors of Kamigawa, down 270 to 5295. This is in Modern Mill, and it gets a little Commander play, but the card is cold since it was reprinted for the first time recently in the Realms and Relics subset from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. Avacyn, Angel of Hope from Double Masters. It goes down 272 this week to 4927. This is a big Commander card in many builds, including Kalia the Vast, but this too is cold because it is being reprinted in Commander Masters. Craterhoof Behemoth from Jumpstart. It goes down $2.93 this week to $30.73. This is found in Legacy Elves, and it is another big Commander card found in lots of builds, old and new there, including Selvala Heart of the Wilds, which is getting reprinted in Double Masters. However, you know what else is getting reprinted in Double Masters? Craterhoof Behemoth, and that's why it's cold right now. Grave Pack from 10th edition. It goes down $302 this week to $29.99. Here is another strong Commander card that is in lots of builds, including some new ones, but it too is being reprinted in Commander Masters, which is why this copy is dipping, although it has been upgraded from Rare to Mythic there. So we'll have to see how that impacts the price decline for these older copies. Next we have Morophon the Boundless. The list copy is down 256 to 2321. The Modern Horizons copy down 323 to 2150. It is a popular commander, and many times it is a commander for Sliver and other tribal builds. You also see this in the 99 of different Sliver decks there, but it appears in other builds too, like the Dragon for example, and we know that's being reprinted in Commander Masters. However, yep, Morophon is also in that set, so these copies are cold because of the incoming reprint. Emeria the Sky Rune from the list. It goes down 335 this week to 2374. This gets a fair amount of Commander play in many builds, including some new ones, but it is part of the artist series Elena Danner Secret Lair, which is causing this already inflated copy from the list to normalize down some. Skithiryx the Blight Dragon. This is a Double Masters copy this time. It's down 350 to 1110. This card remains cold. Good in Commander, but it was reprinted in the Multiverse Legends subset in March of the Machine, which has really caused previous copies to cool off. Gemstone Caverns from Time Spiral, down $353 this week to $50.43. This was hot since it gets a ton of Modern and a good amount of Commander play too, but this was just reprinted. You can find it in the Realms and Relics subset from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, which again has caused previous copies to cool off. Ren and 6 from the list, down $355 this week to $52.68. This card gets a little vintage and Commander play, but a ton of Modern play. It's even in some popular decks there, like the Omnith builds and Indomitable Creativity, but the card has been soft ever since it was reprinted in Double Masters 2022 last year. Last card moving down in this section is Doubling Season. The Ravnica City of Guilds copy down 378 to 7827. The Double Masters copy down 439 to 7736. You know this is a huge commander card in lots of decks, including some popular new ones, but these copies are moving down significantly this week. Why? Because this too is getting reprinted in Commander Masters. Now for the Modern legal cards moving up, Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre from Modern Masters 2015. It goes up 269 to 2891. This has been very soft since its reprinting in Double Masters 2022, but it is a popular commander card in lots of decks. Some thought it could be reprinted again in Commander Masters, either in the main set or in the Eldrazi Unbound Commander deck, but once players saw that that wasn't the case, the mad dash began to get copies of this. It will be a good upgrade to Eldrazi Unbound, and others want it for fresh builds around Zulodok Voidgorger. Kozilek Butcher of Truth from Ultimate Masters goes up 298 this week to 2990. Sometimes you see this in Legacy Mono Green Cloudpost, but like the last card, it sees a good amount of commander play in various builds. It too was reprinted in Double Masters 2022 and has been soft, but it did not show up in the Commander Masters main set or in Eldrazi Unbound. So again, players want to grab copies of this to upgrade that Eldrazi Unbound deck, or to put it in fresh builds around Zulodok Voidgorger, and now you're seeing the spike. Blood Moon, the original copy from the Dark, goes up 363 this week to 8898. So this copy is rebounding a little after some recent losses. It is still far below its peak price of almost $200 in early 2021, but the card is seeing a ton of modern play in both sideboards and main decks. For example, this is in Rakdos Midrange, Murktide Regent, and more there. Rakdos Midrange is especially good against the One Ring, which is in a lot of modern builds right now. In Legacy, this is in Mono Red Prison and Temur Cascade, and it even sees a fair amount of commander play in Mono Red or Heavy Red builds. One example would be Krenko Mob Boss. Living End is still hot. The Time Spiral copy up $302 to $15. The Time Spiral Remastered copy up $371 to $1738. The Living End Modern deck is getting a boost from a couple new Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth cards now, Generous Ascent and Oliphant. Right now, those decks are performing well in the evolving meta, and a lot of players are building them since they are good against the One Ring, which, like I said, is showing up in a ton of modern builds now. This also sees a little commander play, but modern is the key driver here. Nothing subtle about this spike. Subtlety is up 375 to 1197. This is a huge modern card found in sideboards and main decks. It's in big decks too, like Living End, which we just talked about, Murktide Regent, among others. With the modern meta changing due to Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, many cards that cross over into a lot of big decks have been getting hot, as many players take the opportunity to buy into modern for the first time, while others have to adjust their builds to keep up with the meta. Beyond that, in Legacy, this is in Merfolk sideboards, and it gets a little commander play, but again, this jump is all because of modern. And Grief is back again. It goes up 402 to 3979. This too sees a lot of modern play. It's in builds like Rakdos Midrange and Living End. Like we mentioned, both of those decks good against the One Ring, plus it's in many more builds there. This also gets Legacy and Vintage play too, plus it shows up occasionally in Commander. In Legacy, it's found in those Reanimator decks that were recently pushed by Atraxa Grand Unifier. That deck may have softened the supply for this, and now Modern is driving the spike. Beyond that, it was also mentioned on a Tolarian Community College video this week, which might have brought some attention to it as well. Next we have a new card, Sauron's Ransom, up 671 this week to 759. Okay, so keep an eye on this Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth card. In Modern, I've seen this in Dimir, Esper, and Grixis Control. Legacy, it has appeared in Grixis Tempo, and it's been a popular commander card too. Many have picked this up to upgrade the Hosts of Mordor Lord of the Rings commander deck. Others have put this in fresh builds around cards from there, Lord of the Nazgul, Sauron Lord of the Rings, Saruman the White Hand. It's also in other builds in the format, including a couple around popular new cards from the main set, Sauron the Dark Lord and Saruman of Many Colors. Now, this Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth card has had an impact on a number of formats already. This is Orcish Bowmasters, up $8.34 to $49.96. You know a Magic card's the real deal when you start hearing about it in other places other than Magic videos and such. I was watching a comic book auction last week, and some of the sellers started talking about this card. They heard about it and heard that it's doing things in various formats in Magic. Unlike the previous card, this one has not been flying under the radar. In Modern, it's in the popular Rakdos Midrange build, it's in Yawgmoth, and much more there. Legacy, this is in a bunch of decks there already too. Grixis Tempo, Death's Shadow, and more. It's even getting some Vintage play in Sultai Midrange, for example. and it's been getting a lot of commander play too. The card quickly has become one of the top creatures in CEDH, and when it comes to regular commander, the rules committee had said they're keeping an eye on this due to its power level. Could it see a ban in the future? Well, time will tell, but players are picking this up to upgrade the Hosts of Mordor, plus they're adding it to fresh builds around cards from there, Lord of the Nazgul, Sauron Lord of the Rings, and Saruman the White Hand. Additionally, this is in some other commander builds old and new, like Sauron the Dark Lord, Nekusar the Mind Razor, and much more. Next is Sliver Legion, the Time Spiral Remastered copies of 1444 to 3543, the Future Sight copies of 1454 to 3799. So this is a solid Sliver Tribal Commander. It's also in the 99 in many of those builds too. You know the story by now. Players waited to see if this was in Commander Masters, either in the main set or the Silver Swarm Commander deck. When it did not appear, the scramble began. Players wanted to get copies to upgrade Sliver Swarm, or to put in fresh builds around Sliver Gravemother, or Rukaru Male Biologist, and here is the resulting spike. Last card in this section is the first Sliver from Modern Horizons of $19.05 to $45. This is actually the most popular Sliver Tribal Commander currently, but you do find this in the 99 of Sliver decks there too. You guessed it though, the first Sliver did not show up in the Commander Masters main set or the Silver Swarm Commander deck, so the mad dash has begun online. Players want copies to upgrade Sliver Swarm, or they want this to build around Sliver Gravemother or Rukaru Male Biologist, or they just want to build a commander deck around this and put some of the new Slivers in it. By the way, the premium copies of this are all extremely hot this week too. Let's take a quick look. The Modern Horizons 2 Retro Etch Foil copy up $21.91 to $47.30. The Modern Horizons 2 Retro Foils up $24.61 to $54.74. And the Modern Horizons Foils up $37.51 to $87.50. That's going to take us to our salute to all formats, but mostly Commander. I actually do a salute when I say that every week too. I can't really get it out without doing the salute. That's kind of weird. Obviously, not all the cards in this section are going to be legal in every Eternal format. However, none of them are legal in Standard, Pioneer, or Modern. First we have the cards moving down, starting with Toxic Deluge. This is the new copy from the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth Food and Fellowship Commander deck. It goes down $2.02 to $11. But this is a very popular Commander card found in all sorts of builds old and new. It's even a good upgrade to the Hosts of Mordor deck, but it is getting reprinted in Commander Masters, which is why this copy is soft. Replenish is next, down $2.05 to $92.39. I'm a little surprised this reserve list card is moving down this week, since it has been in a popular Commander build around a card from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, Tom Bombadil. And we have the Commander Masters Enduring Enchantments deck previewed this week too. I guess we'll have to see what happens to the price of Replenish next week. Maybe it jumps? Necropotence, this is the Deckmasters Garfield vs. Finkel copy. This one only comes in foil. It goes down $2.14 to $75.79. This card is in Vintage Doomsday and a variety of Commander decks, but this copy has always had a life of its own since it is hard to find in high grade. Overall, it's still declining from its peak of almost $200 in early 2021. The Ur-Dragon from Commander 2017, this copy only comes in foil. It goes down $2.28 to $54.82. This of course is being reprinted in Commander Masters, and that's why this copy is cold. It's still the most popular Dragon Tribal Commander, and it's in the 99 as some of those builds too. Lion's Eye Diamond, this goes down $2.30 this week to $466.99. This reserve list card continues to retract and is now back to its price point from the beginning of 2021. Good legacy and Commander card though. Lord of the Nazgul. This popular legendary wraith is starting to finally retract after a good amount of hype recently. This is down $2.31 to $13.61. It comes from the Hosts of Mordor Commander deck, and sure, it does see play in Commander builds around cards from there, but the real story is that many Commander players have wanted this to build tribal wraith decks around. Aside from that, this is also in the 99 of other Commander builds old and new, but as the Lord of the Rings products continue to get into circulation, many of the cards are starting to settle into a more consistent price point like you see here. Jet Medallion from Commander 2014. It goes down $2.52 this week to $30.92. Great card for mono black Commander builds, but this copy is soft since we know that the entire cycle is being reprinted in Commander Masters. Ruby Medallion from Commander 2014, down $2.58 to $26.24. Here's another card from that Medallion cycle, of course being reprinted in Commander Masters. Not only is this in a lot of mono red Commander builds, but it's also in Legacy Ruby Storm. Spellseeker from Battlebond, down $2.62 to $20.16. This is a solid commander card in a lot of decks, but it was reprinted recently in the Wizards of the Street Secret Lair, and it's getting another reprinting in Commander Masters, although it has been upgraded from rare to mythic there. Atraxa Praetor's Voice. This is the Double Masters copy, down 266 this week to 2410. Wildly popular commander, and it's in the 99 of some builds old and new, but previous copies have been cold since Atraxa was reprinted in the March of the Machine Multiverse Legends subset. In the Darkness, Bind Them. This is down 330 this week to 1350. It is from the Hosts of Mordor commander deck, and it was spiking aggressively last week. Basically, two different groups of commander players wanted this since it is a saga, and it also makes wraiths. Some wanted it for Tom Bombadil saga decks, others wanted it for wraith tribal builds around Sauron the Dark Lord, for example. But again, as product gets into circulation, many of these cards are starting to fall into their proper price points. Hammer of Nazan from Double Masters, down 343 to 1753. Popular equipment card found in many commander builds, but it is being reprinted in Commander Masters, so this copy is cold. Survival of the Fittest from Exodus, down 399 this week to 225.40. It is a decent commander card that is retracting after a bump last week. Overall, though, it has been declining since its peak of $375 in April of 2021. There's just much less activity around many of the reserve list cards now compared to the last few years, since many speculators and resellers have moved out of collectible markets, including Magic. Sliver Queen. This is down 412 this week to 332.80. So this reserve list card has seen a fair amount of growth since we learned that the Silver Swarm Commander deck was coming with Commander Masters. In fact, this was climbing again over the last couple weeks, but now it is retracting some after those jumps. Some may be thinking this is the week to sell while the hype around the new deck is high. Perhaps that's what you're seeing here. Ultimately, though, it will be interesting to see what happens soon when the deck is released. This is a good Sliver Tribal commander, but more frequently you find this in the 99 of Sliver Tribal builds there, and I have seen this in early deck lists around Sliver Gravemother too. Deflecting SWAT from Commander 2020 goes down 465 to 42.09. Huge commander card, but this entire cycle from Commander 2020 is getting reprinted in Commander Masters, so this card is cold right now. Cavern Horde Dragon from the Hosts of Mordor commander deck. It goes down 487 to 1985. It is a dragon that can make treasure tokens, so of course this is seeing a good amount of commander play in lots of builds old and new, but like we saw with some of the other Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth commander cards this week, this one is dropping as more copies are getting into circulation. Archfiend of Despair from Battle Bond. It goes down 571 this week to 3760. Good commander creature and combo enabler, but it is being reprinted in Commander Masters, so this copy is dropping. They're also reprinting a card there that combos with it, Scytheclaw. Pearl Medallion from Commander 2014. It goes down 615 this week to 23.99. Like we discussed, this is being reprinted in Commander Masters. It is great, especially in mono white commander builds, but the copy you see is soft this week. Mind Over Matter. This is down $687 to $60. So this reserve list card spiked aggressively not too long ago, but it has been turbulent in recent weeks. The reason it initially spiked is because of a Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth card, the One Ring. Mind Over Matter and the One Ring make a 2-card combo that will let you draw your deck. Maybe casting cost-wise a bit expensive for a CEDH combo, but I'm sure you're going to see people attempt this at the commander table. Now that the hype around the combo is starting to pass though, we are seeing this card calm down. Arachnogenesis from Commander 2015, down 703 to 4650. This card is yet to be reprinted, and it recently spiked leading up to the release of Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. A lot of players wanted this for builds, mostly around Shelob, Child of Ungoliant, but now we know this is getting reprinted in Commander Masters, so this original copy has become very cold. Next is Volcanic Island from Revised, down 1677 to 735.69. These revised dual lands have been very turbulent since the announcement and subsequent release of the 30th Anniversary Edition. Now, these are not swinging as wildly as they were a few weeks ago, but you're still going to see several of them in this video. Some are more turbulent than others. When it comes to gameplay, of course they're played everywhere they're legal. Here's another one, Tropical Island from Revised, down 1770 to 502.99. And the last card moving down today is Mox Diamond from Stronghold. It's going down 29.24 to 615.57. This reserve list card is retracting after some recent increases. In fact, this jumped quite a bit last week. It does get a good amount of legacy and commander play, although this was in a number of parfait builds in pre-modern, and those decks just took a big hit with the recent banning of land tax. Pre-modern has had a bigger impact on card prices recently, so that could be a contributing factor here. Celestine, the Living Saint, is the first card moving up in this section. It goes up $2 to $8.16, and this is from the Warhammer 40k Forces of the Imperium Commander deck. It is now seeing increased Commander play, as many players are grabbing this to upgrade Food and Fellowship, while others are putting in fresh builds around cards from there. Bilbo Birthday Celebrant, the partner commanders Frodo Adventurous Hobbit and Sam Loyal Attendant, as well as the Gaffer. Arena Rector from Battle Bond. It was dropping last week, rebounds this week. It's up 220 to 1973. It does get some commander play in different builds, including a Trexa Praetor's Voice at times. Song of the World Soul. This goes up 252 to 454. This has been seeing increased commander play in Tom Bombadil builds, but now there's also players that want this to upgrade the Enduring Enchantments commander deck when that comes out. Others want this for fresh builds around the front-facing commander from there too. Let's take a look. It is Anixia, Hand of Erebos. Plateau from Revised up 261 to 348.99. Another small percentage increase for this card, but they are starting to add up. Scorched Ruins up 286 to $30.88. Some want this reserve list card to upgrade the upcoming Eldrazi Unbound commander deck, or to put it in fresh builds around Zulodok Voidgorger. Like a lot of these cards though, we're going to have to see how much of this interest is coming from true gameplay intentions versus speculation. Mana Crypt is hot this week. Mystery Booster up 212 to 174.99. Eternal Masters up 257 to 174.13. And Double Masters up 306 to 172.95. Recently, this has been moving down since many thought it could see a reprint in Commander Masters, but turns out it is not there, so now it's climbing back up. It's a big vintage card in Esper Tinker, Paradoxical Outcome, and more. Plus, it is a huge commander card found in tons of builds. It is inexpensive, but good upgrade to the Hosts of Mordor, and I have seen some players putting this in their fresh Lord of the Nazgul builds. It's also in commander decks around cards from the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth main set, like Sauron the Dark Lord. Show and Tell from Urza's Saga goes up 335 this week to 53.46. This is in some legacy builds that have recently been pushed by Trexa Grand Unifier, Reanimator, Sneak and Show, and Omnitel. It's also found in Vintage Oath of Druids, which also runs a Trexa Grand Unifier. And additionally, it's been getting a little more commander play too, sometimes as an upgrade to the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth commander deck Elven Council. Plus, I've seen it in fresh builds around a card from there, Círdan the Shipwright. And if that wasn't enough, this gets pre-modern play too. City of Traders. This one is rebounding a little after some recent losses. It goes up 335 to 319.99. This gets a lot of legacy play in several decks, including Painter and Mono Red Prison. Additionally, it's in a variety of commander decks too, and it does get some pre-modern play as well. Tundra from Revised up $3.60 to $464. Argothian Enchantress from Eternal Masters goes up $371 to $38.99. So this is in Legacy Enchantress, but it is also a popular commander card in enchantment-heavy decks, including Sithis Harvest Hand, and that is getting reprinted in the Enduring Enchantments commander deck. As you might have guessed, many want this to upgrade that deck. Others want to put it in fresh builds around a couple cards from there too though. Anixia, Hand of Erebos, which we looked at earlier, and this card here, Narcy Fablesinger. Additionally, Argothian Enchantress has been in a lot of Tom Bombadil commander builds too, and it is another card that sees pre-modern play. Earthcraft is next. It goes up 421 to 119.99. This reserve list card is rebounding after some recent losses. It's in some different commander builds like Chatterfang Squirrel General, for example, where it combos with Squirrel Nest, and you see this in Sithis Harvest Hand too. Edgar Markov from Commander 2017. This only comes in foil. It goes up $430 to $70. So it is the most popular vampire tribal commander, and it has been soft since many players thought we would see this reprinted in Commander Masters. Well, that did not happen, so the card starts to jump up this week. Scrubland from Revised up $4.41 to $329.80. Savannah from Revised up $6.06 to $340.80. Badlands from Revised up $11.31 to $395. Femref Enchantress up $12 to $30 this week. So this reserve list card has been seeing increased commander play in some Tom Bombadil builds. And not surprisingly, players want this to upgrade the upcoming Enduring Enchantments commander deck. Others want to put it in fresh builds around Narcy Fablesinger and Anixia, Hand of Erebos from there. Plus, this also gets a little pre-modern play. Wow, and this isn't even our biggest mover this week. Ayavugan, the World Weight copies of 32.75 to 44.50. The Modern Masters 2015 copies of 33.10 to 44.33. So this is in Legacy Cloudpost builds, and it's in a number of Commander decks, typically colorless ones, like Kozilek the Great Distortion, which is getting reprinted in Commander Masters. In fact, this card was mentioned in a Nitpicking Nerds video this week where they discussed how this interacts with Kozilek. But do you know what's not being reprinted in Commander Masters or in any of the Commander decks that come with it? I'll give you 3 guesses. Yeah, you're right, this card. So again, many players are scrambling to get a copy of this to upgrade Eldrazi Unbound, or to add to fresh builds around Zulodok Void Gorger. Again, speculation and FOMO is probably playing a role in this spike too, like a lot of the big spikes we're seeing this week, so keep that in mind. And if you're wondering, yeah, the premium copies are super hot too. The Zendikar Expeditions copy is up $34.69 to $99. The Judge gift card from 2020 is up $36.61 to $58.99. The Modern Masters 2015 foil is up $41.55 to $56.31. And that Worldwide foil is up $108.92 to $133.71. And our last card today is Sliver Overlord, the Scourge copy up $24.18 to $61.64. The Premium Deck Series Slivers copy, that one only comes in foil. It's up $40.67 to $75. So here we have another very good Sliver Tribal Commander. It's also in the 99 of those builds in the format too. And as you probably guessed by now, this was not reprinted in Commander Masters or in the Sliver Swarm Commander deck. Players laid off this card for a while because they thought it could be reprinted, but of course when that didn't happen, the mad dash began. And aside from true gameplay purposes, FOMO, speculation, there also could be some pent-up buying there for some of these cards. Players held off on a lot of cards for a while because of Commander Masters. But anyway, there are players that want to pick this up now to upgrade Sliver Swarm, or to put it in fresh builds around Sliver Gravemother from there. That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. I said it at the top of the video, I'm going to say it again. Never forget that Masters sets not only make cards go down in value, because sure they do that, but they also cause some pretty big spikes. Most of the spikes we saw today revolve around Commander because this is Commander Masters. But those of you who have watched the Market Watch for a long time remember Modern Masters sets causing a lot of Modern cards to spike. Players would get a couple cards that they need to build a new deck, and then they'd go out there and they would spend money to get the rest of the deck put together once they had that incentive. So I do think it's going to be a wild ride, but we're going to have it all covered for you right here. Until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.